Hello, my name is Candace Worthy, and I'm going to be sharing some insight on Abraham Kuyper. Abraham Kuyper was a Christian worldview influencer, author, journalist, educator, lecturer, and statesman. Abraham Kuyper is notable for his contributions to Christian worldview, including his lectures on Calvinism, the Stone Lectures he delivered in Princeton Theological Seminary in 1898. Kuyper's work resonates with me because of the connection and not the dissonance of Christian views as it impacts government, education, and society. We live in a society that devalues Christianity under the idea of separation of church and state. Society now dictates morality. Christianity was dismissed from the public school system by eliminating prayer in 1962. And currently, many states are under controversy over the removal of the Ten Commandments from public buildings, and it's still an ongoing battle. Political experts, social media influencers, and most of America agree that this next presidential election is the most important election in our nation's history. While my presentation will touch on Kuyper's theology, I want to touch on his theology as it relates to his political view and his influence on society as a worldview thinker. Kuyper was one of these studies that the more you studied, the more you studied, and the more you found out, the more you studied. In simplicity, Internet AI says that Kuyperian theology is these several elements. God's sovereignty. Kuyper believed that God alone is sovereign over every sphere of life and that no human ruler or institution can claim this absolute sovereignty. Christian conversion. Kuyper believed that a Christian conversion is so radical that it constitutes complete recreation of the entire person. World engagement. And this is the one that really stood out for me. Kuyper believed that Christians should be fully engaged with the world and that their faith should be applied in all areas of life. Pluralism. Kuyper believed that Christians should have the right to organize and form institutions such as churches, schools, clubs, magazines, unions, and political parties. A little bit of history about this great man. Abraham Kuyper was born in the Dutch town of Maasluis in Rotterdam in October 29, 1937. He was converted to Christ when he was 10 years of age. He was a gifted pupil in school and an avid reader of newspapers. He developed an interest in journalism and politics early on. He was enrolled as a student of theology in Leiden University in the summer of 1855, and within 7 years he received his degree, having written his dissertation comparing the doctrine of the church in the theology of John Calvin and a Polish reformer named John Alesko. While a theology student in Leiden, Kuyper severed his connection with the Reformed orthodoxy and embraced the theological liberalism of the Leiden school. His reading of the novel The Heir of Redcliffe, published in 1853 by Charlotte Young, showed him that he remained a weak and sinful person in need of God's grace. This book, second only to the Bible, was one of Kuyper's most influential books in terms of his reading list. Kuyper married Joanna Hendrika Shea in 1863. Abraham Kuyper's Christian principles were simply that he believed that Christians should be principles should be applied to all aspects of life, including public affairs, marriage, school, and government. And he demonstrated this by his rigorous participation in each one of these areas. How can the U.S. government prevent the establishment of religion while also ensuring free exercise of religion. Are concepts such as justice and rights inherently religious? The American Declaration of Independence states that rights come from the Creator. How can we fully discuss issues such as prayer in public schools, abortion, and civil rights without reference to religion? Political questions of these sort are of much greater importance to our society in the long run than the Middle Class Tax Act. But where do we go for our help in thinking through such questions? Kuyper's influence on government. One source of help can be found in that profound Dutchman, Abraham Kuyper, who was one of the most remarkable reform men of the modern era. He was both a powerful thinker and an effective activist. He was a minister and a churchman, a professor, a theologian, a writer, a newspaper editor, a politician, and a statesman. In the political arena, he organized the anti-revolutionary party and made it a potent force in the national politics of the Netherlands. He also founded the daily newspaper Die Standaard to give expression to his political views. He served in Parliament as Prime Minister from 1901 to 1905. Here's one of Kuyper's key contributions. One of Kuyper's key contributions was his articulation of the sphere of sovereignty. He believed that various social spheres, including state, the church, and the family, should each have their own distinct authority and responsibilities. This idea emphasized the importance of preserving the autonomy and the integrity of these spheres, ensuring that the state did not infringe on religious or societal freedoms. One of the most distinctive and provocative elements of Kuyper's worldview was this articulation of sphere sovereignty. And according to Kuyper, the various spheres of life within God's creation stand under the universal sovereignty of God. Man on a mission. Abraham Kuyper's mission statement. For me, one desire rules over my life. One urge drives my soul and will. It is to reestablish God's holy ordinances in church and home, in state and school. Regardless of the world's protestations for the benefit of the nation, it is to engrave those divine ordinances to which the Word and creation witnesses so clearly on the nation that once again it bows its knee to God. I'm not surprised that Abraham Kuyper had a mission statement. Many powerful men and historical figures in our history had mission statements. Benjamin Franklin had a mission statement. I believe in the value of having a mission statement, and as I started reading this, I felt that this statement could actually be set to music, but it inspired me to take time out to rewrite my own mission statement again, giving God full permission to write it as He wills and edit it as needed. We can't talk about Kuyper without mentioning Calvinism, and Calvinism can be a broad, ongoing topic, but I just want to touch on it very quickly. So I discovered this resource. Calvinism teaches that the glory and sovereignty of God should come first in all things. Calvinism believes that only God can lead His church. What a novel thought. In preaching, worship, and government. And Calvinism expects social change as a result of proper teaching and discipline of the church. It is challenging to define Calvinism. Kuyper's connection to Calvinism versus modernism is found in our textbook. And like Orr, Kuyper saw that modernity had given birth to a worldview deeply antithetical to the Christian tradition. In other words, in the late 1800s, there was conflict brewing between the secular and sacred due to focus on more scientific worldview. Kuyper believed only a comprehensive biblical worldview had a chance of standing up against such modernism. I wonder what Kuyper would think of our worldview today, with the rise of secular humanism and how that has invaded our culture and our society. Just a thought. Kuyper in politics. Well, we can see several landmarks in Kuyper's uh, vast array of accomplishments. Um, he served at the Domkirk in Europe, becoming embroiled in the theological controversies with the liberal ethical wing of the Dutch Reformed Church and engaging in a debate on the issue of Christian and/or state education. Kuyper founded and became the chief editor of the newspaper Die Standard. We mentioned that before, incorporating within itself the religious weekly Die Heret, which Kuyper edited since 1871. This newspaper became a chief journalistic organ of the Revolutionary Party, much like how we use podcasts and social media today. Over a 50-year period, Kuyper wrote thousands of articles on political, cultural, and educational issues. And through these articles, Kuyper dominated the political and religious debate in the Netherlands for almost half a century. At the age of 36, having won a recent parliamentary election, he took the required oaths and assumed a seat in the second chamber of The Hague as a member of the Dutch parliament. He saw his post as a means of serving the anti-revolutionary party and of promoting the reformation of society according to Christian values. My final thoughts. I have encountered many Christians that believe they should stay out of politics, not vote, and just pray. They come to this conclusion that God will have his way and whatever happens will happen. We must examine the condition of our nation. It is evident that the lack of biblical worldview is causing a collapse of moral values and creating a nation with no restraint. What if we had a world leader as president that actually endorsed Christian values? What kind of a nation do you think we would have if Abraham Kuyper were president? I want to go on to mention that as promoters of the gospel, we should be promoters of the gospel. We've been silent or absent from the political as a result of that, schools are usurping the role of parents in gender, sex education, marriage matters. We know that the boundaries of marriage between a man and a woman have definitely taken on another worldview. Prayer is not allowed in most public places unless you are Muslim. They pray anyway. We have drag queens in our schools reading to our children. And we also have sexually explicit and inappropriate children's books available for our kids to read in both the public library and their schools. Entertainment, movies, songs, and areas of the arts have gone from PG to R to light porn. And the list goes on and on. And according to George Barna, Christian Worldview in America, only 4% of Americans have a Christian worldview, and that is rapidly declining. So thank you for tuning in on my presentation. And I hope that you enjoyed hearing more about Abraham Kuyper. Thank you.